What's up, everyone? Welcome to another Team Kitchen Fable video. On this video, I'm going to be basically rewatching a game that I played against Sean a couple weeks, maybe almost a month ago, where I was on Bravo and he was on Dash. This is kind of an infamous matchup for Bravo. It's a little bit tough to beat, but it's definitely beatable, and hopefully this video can show some some ways that you can approach this matchup. I think this deck is going to be running very aggressive. It's got Zealous Beltings in there. It's got Rouse the Ancients. Um, I think it has a couple Lead the Charges, but I could be wrong on that as this game was from a while ago. But let's go ahead and get started with the game. We're going to roll off. John won the roll, so he's definitely going to choose to go first. He wants to see those items as early as possible, and he also wants to deny me getting an arsenal. We drew a pretty alright opening hand. We're probably just going to be blocking whatever he throws at us on turn one and hoping to keep this red pummel and this yellow righteous cleansing in our hand. Both of those are really good cards to play against Dash. Going to attack us for 2 with the pistol after loading the induction chamber. So he might attack us again, or he might just end his turn here. Obviously, we'll get rid of a card that doesn't matter to us. We'll be drawing up at the end of turn 1. And it looks like he's going to end there, so we'll draw up. There could be some arguments made to keeping the red pummel or the righteous cleansing in arsenal, but I think I opt for as much aggression as possible and just playing out the righteous cleansing. This is going to demand multiple cards, at least 2 or armor pieces, which would both be fine outcomes, but there's no way Sean can let this hit because it has a chance to rip items straight out of his deck. Those items are really important for him winning this matchup. So right away, I'm just playing cards as aggressively as possible. Would love to have Arsenaled, but I think this was the best option to get him to give me some cards. I don't want him to be able to ping damage through on me, and I don't want him to be able to have any space to set stuff up. He needs to be taking damage if he wants to try to set things up. Yeah, so he's going to block as much of this as possible. I do leak 1, which is not bad, but the more important thing is that he has less cards to just have for his turn. And looks like he's just going to hit me for 2. My hand is amazing, so I'm definitely taking that. Here we see the Zealous Belting is about to come into effect and ship a lot of damage through. So it's definitely worth it for me to take 4 damage here. Because my turn is going to be Zealous Belting into Hammer for 11. I'm going to end with a Seismic, and I'm going to have Rouse the Ancients in Arsenal. So Arsenal is where you want to be playing the Rouses from, unless of course you get a natural Rouse draw, where you can just play it off of your 4 cards, like a blue, Rouse, Righteous Cleansing, and like Cranial Crush or another random blue. But other than that, if you play the Rouse into your arsenal, it makes it very easy to play it on a following turn. So Dash has to really be blocking here. Yeah, it looks like they're going to leak 2. I'm going to make the Seismic, and then Hammer for 6. And all of these are respectable numbers of damage. If he has an item, he's going to have to take a big chunk of damage in order to play it. And this is straight up just racing him. I want to get his life total as low as possible before he gets set up. And he wants to keep his life total high while he gets set up. So he's going to have to be making some hard decisions on what to block and when to take damage to play out his items, etc. So he's going to hit me with a pistol for 2. I took it. He looks like he just used the induction chamber to make sure he didn't forget. Reloads the pistol. And reloads the induction chamber, shoots me for 2 again. So yeah, I have another amazing hand. I'm kind of drawing the nuts on these first couple hands, but yeah, so we can see the Rouse come out. I have the pummel behind it, which is amazing. If I can pummel the Rouse, then that's just getting even more cards out. Even if the pummel doesn't connect, if I can get some defense reactions off of him, it means that he has less defense reactions in his deck for when I do draw my cripplings and other things that I really want the crush effect to happen. So this is a lot. This is going to be 7 damage with Go again, and looks like he's considering blocks pretty hard here. He knows that the next thing could be Hammer. Another thing with the way I revealed is he doesn't know the pummel is in hand. If that pummel was a blue, since I have a surge out, I could also be doing a righteous cleansing after this. So it looks like he said no blocks, but he's going to be able to cover it fully with these two defense reactions. Uh, it's okay that he covered it just because, like I said, I get the defense reactions out there, and I'm coming in with the hammer for 6. So this is another very high pressure turn, and I got some defense reactions out, and he might even be having to take some damage here depending on what's in his hands. Like if he has an item stuck in hand right now, he has to just take 6 damage here and then play his item or maybe block and then arsenal the item. But yeah, we'll see what he has next. So he's going to load the pistol, and he's going to shoot it. He has 2 resources floating. Could potentially shoot me again or just preload the pistol and arsenal that last card. That could be like a Command and Conquer to play, which would be, well, not good because I have no arsenal now, so probably arsenal. But it looks like he's actually just going to play out an induction chamber. So yeah, he didn't block. He wanted a pistol and then play the item. And that just straight up means that I got 6 damage on him last turn. This hand is a little bit awkward. I have to leave these unmovables in here in this configuration just because I need the blue count. I need to guarantee that I can actually play my expensive cards. But I think why I was thinking here is because I almost thought that he was going to pistol me twice last turn, so I didn't block the first one. I was going to block the second one and then just make a seismic and disable, but he did not attack me a second time, so I was left with extra resources in hand. Yeah, that's what I think of what I'm pointing out right now. But I was able to at least seismic dominate the disable. He has no arsenal, which means this is bad, but this is just another way for me to get some damage through. So after some thinking, his block is going to be taking advantage of the skull cap point. I think he thinks that I'm going to go below him soon. He wants to get value off of that and then chunking in a bunch of damage, which I love to see. So let's see what he does with his turn. I have a pretty great hand. Options are to throw out the Crippling Crush, Undominated, and Arsenal the Mangle, or if he for whatever reason has a bunch of cards I need to block, then I can throw out the Mangle just for damage. Lots of options, but we'll just have to see what he does. So yeah, this is one of those turns where Dash took an entire turn off to set up an item, and he's going to get really punished for this. So what I opted to do was make a Seismic and then dominate the Mangle. So the only threat here is destroying the Arcanite Skullcap, and if the Crush is going to connect, he's just going to block with the second point anyways. It's not threatening to kill the Teklo because it doesn't have a -1 counter. For Mangle, if it deals 4 or more, you destroy a piece of equipment with a -1 counter on it. So really, I'm just pushing more damage here. And I have the Seismic out, and I have the Crippling that I'm going to Arsenal, so I'm pretty happy about whatever I'm going to do next turn. He's going to start ramping up because he has 2 extra items out over his starting one. But I think we're still in a pretty good spot considering the life totals. It looks like he's opting to block 5 here and take 3. This is going to allow the crush to not happen, and he's going to keep cards in his hand. That might be because he has a big turn coming up and he didn't want to use the extra block on the skull cap, and he wanted to save some life there. I'm not sure if I would have blocked with the equipment. I maybe would have just blocked with the skull cap if I was going to, and then accepted that skull cap is going to die. But it looks like he's loading up all his items. This is going to be a pistol for 3. I'm going to take 3 here because I have a really good turn coming up. I have another Zealous Belting turn. Take another 3. The damage to me doesn't matter as long as I'm racing him faster than he's racing me. And then this is going to be a 0 to 60 for 4. He hits his boost, so it's going to be go again. So I'm going to be hit with another pistol for 3 after this. So this is a 13 damage turn. That's a lot of damage to take, but I still have gas for this swing back. So I'm just going to take another 4. And like he opts to keep the counter on the pistol. Yeah, so showing off how strong Rouse is again. This is going to be 5 damage with go again, and I have 2 cards back. This makes it so that he has to think about pummels still, and it's just more, lot of damage. And I can follow this up with a undominated crippling from Arsenal, or I could make a Seismic and hammer for 6. Might even have been correct to just make a Seismic and throw out the Righteous Cleansing undominated here, but doing damage over multiple attacks is pretty good because he has many tall defense reactions that are less efficient when I'm doing 2 different attacks on a turn. So I think I just went for the absolute highest damage output I could. It leaves me without an arsenal, but it forces him to use any defense reaction he has or block with a bunch of cards. Yeah, so I get a red unmovable out of him. I think that's only the first Crippling Crush I've seen this game, so that's good. Hopefully I see another one soon. I'm continuing to draw gas, and this is just what you want to happen in the Bravo versus Dash matchup. Yeah, this is just showing off what can happen when you can keep the pressure on Dash. After that turn, all he could do was pistol me for 2, and I'm coming back with Spinal Crush, which is an extremely relevant on hit. And I make a Seismic and I Arsenal the Tome Find All. It's going to let me gain some life and set up another big turn. So he has to block at least 6 here. If he takes 4 damage, then he doesn't have Go again next turn, which is essential for everything Dash wants to be doing, and it's a 9 damage attack, so let's see how he blocks 6. Yep, so he'll just block with 2 cards from hand. He's going to take 3 off the top. Still happy about getting 3 damage through and arsenaling my Tome of Fyendal. Yeah, so he's got another slow turn where he just sets up an item, passes, which is giving me a lot of space to do things. So I'm going to get to play my Tome of Fyendal, draw 2 and gain 5 life, which is huge. And I'm left with tons of options here. Looks like I'm going to make a Seismic. I'm going to play out the Lead the Charge and do a Debilitate. So what this is going to let me do is 6 damage with Go again, essentially, because Lead the Charge gave me an action point. Then after this, I can throw out the Hammer for 6, and then keep back either a Tear or a Pummel in Arsenal. I think the Tear is a little bit high value, more high value because this is just a blue Pummel. Yeah, so I'll use the Pummel. Hammers for 6 because I have 2 other cards in my pitch zone that cost 3 or greater. And it's just 6 more damage he has to block. He's at 14 life right now, so he can't really afford to take much damage at all at this point because of how much pressure I put on in the early game. So I'm still feeling good about my position in this game. The Terra Sunder is going to go to Arsenal. And he's going to have to lose more cards or get into a really risky life total situation. Yeah, so it looks like he's going to throw out the Fate Foreseen. He might be wanting to dig for a better turn. He's going to take 2 here, and he's got all these items out, but with all the setup turns he's had to take and all the pressure I've put on him, this turn might just be loading items and passing. Yeah. I still have lots of threats left in the deck. I have 2 Crippling Crushes. I have more Rouse the Ancients. I have a Zealous Belting like we can see here. And that Zealous Belting is just going to enable another big turn. It's going to be Zealous for 5 Go again. This could be followed up with even a Terra Sundered Hammer. Or it could just be Hammer for 6 and I sandbag the Terra Sunder, but I think the Terra Sunder is going to get played. Yeah, every point of damage when he's at 12 life matters right now, so he's in a really unfortunate position. And I'm not sure if he got lucky or unlucky in this game. He saw his items, I would say, at an average point in time, but if you're just putting pressure on them, they have to take a lot of damage to play their items out. They have to sacrifice damage in order to be able to play those, or in order to be able to use Spark of Genius, or just take turns to load them up once they have the items out, as much as they do. So unless they get super early items, the Bravo mid-range deck can really put the pressure on if you can get a little bit lucky with your draws. Yeah, so even right now he has to play around the Pummel. It looks like he has to full block this just in case. He might have a Sink or a Fade in hand in case I have the Pummel because Zealous is 2 cost and getting pummeled is not good. So Terra Sunder is going to close the combat chain. It puts his equipment back, but they're both going to be on 0 defense, so that doesn't matter. But yeah, it looks like he had the sink below, so he played really well around the pummel on that Zealous Belting. Um, and then I throw out the hammer. He's able to full block it, but it leaves him with 2 cards in hand. So he's gonna be able to push some damage because he has the good items out, a good amount of items out, but he only has 2 cards. So even if he pushes the damage, he's not going to be left with many counters on his items. He's on 12 life still, so if I can draw a good hand, then I'm pretty happy. This is just about one of the best hands I could ask for. I have a Surge out. I have a Spinal Crush that costs 4 after the Surge, so I'm going to be able to pummel the Spinal Crush for 13, make him lose go again, and discard a card if he doesn't have any reactions. Yeah, he's just going to shoot me a couple times with the pistol for 4. I'm completely happy just taking it at this point because I know the sheer power of the turn I'm about to do. So the Seismic pops, and I'm going to be playing Spinal. I'll have 2 floating. It's going to be for 9. If it deals 4 or more, he loses go again. And if I have a pummel, he's going to have to discard a card. So this is a really bad position for him to be in. Even if he has reactions, even if he has the defensive resources, he wasn't able to end his last turn with counters on any of his items. So he might not be able to even put pressure on me after this, and it's just about if I can draw another threat in my next hand. Yeah, so he plays well around the pummel. He's able to fully block it. He had the unmovable from hand, but what this means is he has no turn, and it's just about what my deck gives me. So I definitely just want to do as much damage as I can. I'm probably going to make the Seismic and throw out the Crippling Crush. I'm looking at his graveyard to see what defense reactions he has left. The defense reaction doesn't matter as much because I'm going to dominate this, but it does matter for if I wanted to do different play like Arsenal the Crippling and throw out the Disable without anything. Um, that's that's a possible line, but like I said earlier in the game, I think we just throw out the threats when we have them because we can't let them get an inch back in the game because once they do, they'll overrun us with all the damage they have on their items. So this is a hard block for him to have to make. While he's thinking, I'm looking at my graveyard. I want to know what kind of threats I have left. I have another crippling that I haven't seen yet. Um, let's see. I don't have any Zealouses left, but I do have 2 Rouse the Ancients. I'm not sure if I've pitched one of those. And then I have 1 Spinal. And I think I have 1 Righteous Cleansing that I haven't seen because I think I pitched a Righteous Cleansing to the bottom. So there's still some threat density. I also have Terra Sunders in the deck. So looking at this, I'm pretty hopeful about drawing more threats after this turn, which is another reason for me throwing out the Crippling like this. Yeah, so he has to block all of this. Looks like he's blocking for 10 with the Command and Conquer. High Octane and Sink below. He leaks 1 damage, but he ends with just a single card. So yeah, there we go. The last crippling comes up to my hand, and this is just too much pressure, I think, for Dash to deal with. Yeah, so he's left with 1 card in hand. He can either just load up his items or do something else. Let's see what he does. Goliath Gauntlet, Command and Conquer. So it looks like he's opting just for the high damage play himself. This is hedging against me having an off turn or hedging towards me having an off turn. If I'm forced to take 8 here, it puts me low so that I have to be blocking his pistols. Um, I'm definitely looking for what outs he has. And he has 1 red unmovable and potentially another yellow unmovable. The reason I'm looking at this is to see if I can just straight up kill him with a Dominated Crippling Crush soon. And we'll see if that happens. But yeah, he's putting on pressure of his own. I don't have an Arsenal, so the Command and Conquer on hit effect isn't relevant to me. Um, but 8 damage is relevant when I'm on 11. Looks like I'm just going to soak some of it with my equipment and take 4. Go to 7. And then go to my turn. Yeah, so I've got the Dominated Crippling Crush. Even if he drew his 1 red pummel or 1 red unmovable, it's not enough to cover up the crush effect because that blocks from 7 from hand. So I know because of he has no arsenal, that this crush is going to happen. He's going to take 8 damage, maybe 7 if he had a Sync or a Fate, or maybe less if he did have one of the unmovables, but he's going to end this turn with 1 card in hand. So it's going to take not very much damage to kill him after this. One note, as opposed to some other Guardian matchups, I'm not really paying attention to my pitch stack here. The strategy I'm going for is just all out aggression. If he can get past the first cycle, then my pitch stack is pretty bad. I have just a bunch of blues next to each other, and I'm not running Remembrance because it's not a blue and it's not a threat. So if he gets past my pitch stack, then I might be in trouble. But I don't think that's going to happen based on how the game's going. And I think the Dominated Disable is going to be enough to kill him. So I'm going to take the damage from the pistol here. Dominated Disable won't be enough on its own, but I think we're going to see a Crater Fist usage. Yeah, so Crater Fist gives your attacks with Crush +2 damage until end of turn. Because the Surge is out, I can pay for Crater Fist, it costs 3, and I can pay for Bravo's Dominate. That puts my Disable to 10 damage. Like I said on the last turn, his biggest defense reaction is a red unmovable in the deck, which is the biggest defense reaction in the game. I guess as opposed to red staunch, but Dash doesn't have access to that. So based on that being the last reaction in the deck, that would perfectly put this over the top. He has no equipment left to block with. I'm not sure if you can see, but there's 2 black counters on each one of those equipments. I don't know how easy that is to see through YouTube, but yeah, this is going to exactly kill him. So I could have been conservative. I could have blocked, but doing the math, knowing that he has no outs, it's better to just take the kill when I have it. And I'm not sure if there is any outs besides this. I hadn't seen any sigils in the deck up till now, but I think this is going to be the end. Yeah, so he did have the yellow unmovable, but that would only block for 6 to this disables 10, and that would kill him. Yeah, so that was the game. This is really a risky matchup. You don't always draw like this, but if you can keep the pressure on, they have minimal opportunities to come back if you have a deck that can do that. If you have the red zealous beltings, maybe you have the lead the charges. If you can get a big Toma find all turn, a little rougher when you have off turns and you draw 4 blues. When that happens, I think you can soak up the damage by defending from hand. But other than that, this is just an example of what happens when you draw right. So I don't know if that's very helpful, but I think there were definitely some decision trees happening in this matchup. And yeah, I hope that helps everybody. Thanks for watching.